Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Life Reset Collective. My name is Josh. This is a channel committed to helping, encouraging, and motivating those who are either going through a life reset or have gone through one or are getting ready to go through one. I've been through two, so I know how hard it is, and I hope you find support and basically some friendly encouragement on this channel, my friends. And today we're talking about how to find clarity when you don't know what to do next. Okay. Now, I have been through two major life resets, and the first one was a lot harder for me to find clarity on after because I was so young. It was my first marriage. It was the divorce is what initiated the life reset. But it was so hard for me to figure out what I wanted. I did a lot of drifting and I didn't really know where to go or what to do. I would kind of set goals and then I would just sort of abandon them and go to the next thing, go to the next thing, sort of chasing shiny things, I would say. And this obviously didn't serve my life. But in the later years of my life, especially leading up to 2025, which is when I had to go through my second life reset, and I'm still going through it. I'm still recovering from it, and I'm still rebuilding from it. I actually got a lot more clarity, and I've actually written down a 9-point life framework, and I've come to arrive at this framework, and I've been meditating on this because this is the framework, as I've realized, that has helped me through all the hard times. And when I would go through things in life that led to success, this was kind of the framework that I would end up following. And today I want to share how important it is and the steps required for clarity as we move forward in a life reset. Now, a life reset is characterized by some kind of disaster. You might have lost a loved one. You might have lost your home. You might have lost your job. You might have gone through divorce. You might have had some big calamity happen that brought disaster into your life, and now you're trying to escape, you're trying to climb out, you're trying to get to that next chapter. I firmly believe and I empathize with every human that they deserve a new chapter. They deserve hope. You deserve to have a beautiful paradise at the top of the mountain, but right now you have to climb out of the pit and climb up the mountain, and that is what the life reset process is like. Okay, and finding clarity is going to become an incredibly important part of this process, and I want to walk you through this today. Okay, I have been doing a lot of thinking about what I really want in my life, and I've come to some really great conclusions, right? So in coming to these conclusions, I've realized there's some questions we need to ask ourselves, and I think you should think about these questions. I'm going to just list them out for you. What do you actually want? What kind of life are you trying to build for yourself? What kind of work do you want to do? What do you want your days to look like? What kind of relationships do you want to have in your life? And what do you want them to look like? What do you want to move toward? Okay. These are all questions that can help us find clarity in our life. Okay. Now, I've made decisions before without having a lot of clarity. I've seen myself adjust, change direction, adjust again, and sometimes circle all the way back to where I started. And that became one of the realizations behind my framework. Finding clarity and choosing a direction has to come first before we can really make meaningful change. And I'm going to describe that process for you here today. So here's step one. You need to ask yourself what you actually want. Okay. You want to really ask yourself, what do I want my future to look like? And that is in any category that's relevant. Okay. Now, this is not the same question as what is most practical. Okay. It's actually the question, what do you really want? And that's actually very important. This is also not necessarily what other people expect, not theoretically what will make the most money, right? Not what you think you should want, but what you actually genuinely want your life to look like. This is a major part of the realization of like finding clarity. And I think that in my life, I've had a strong propensity to always kind of tend toward the practical because I thought I don't want to be inefficient. I don't want to spend money I don't need to spend. I don't want to go through extra hardships. And so I think that in my life, I've done a lot of like trying to make my life very efficient, but in doing so, I've sacrificed the vision I really wanted, right? And so for me, in this chapter of my life, finding clarity has really unveiled that to me. Step two is identify what matters the most, okay? Now, you probably want many things in your life, and this is good, but this can make clarity a little bit more difficult. So you want to ask yourself, what matters the most to me? And this could be in any category. This could be in the category of work, relationships, your home, whatever. But what matters the most to you, okay? Is it freedom, security, a type of relationship, creative work, money, adventure, health, time, home, travel? Clarity isn't merely about choosing a goal. It's about understanding what you value enough and what excites you enough and what gives you hope enough to begin building your life around. Okay. So you need to identify what matters most. This is very important. For me, I realized some very crucial things about my work in the past like month. I've realized that I want complete like freedom of time with my work. I don't want to be held down to specific times and locations. And I've begun building that for myself. But it took me finding clarity to find that for myself, right? Now let's go to step 3. You need to create a North Star for yourself. This is how I describe this, okay? We want to turn these desires that we have into an actual direction, okay? And here's the question we want to ask here. If things went well, what would you want your life to look like 1 year from now? And then you can even ask this question about 5 years from now. It doesn't need to be a 47-point master plan. You don't have to draft this elaborate goal setting scheme, right? You just need something that you can look toward, something to help guide you, a light in the horizon that you can move toward. And you don't have to move toward it perfectly, but at least that'll keep you from spinning in circles, right? Without a North Star, you can keep shifting direction until eventually you might even just circle around, keep repeating the same behavior patterns, keep repeating the same mistakes. And sometimes when you're looking right down at your feet, i.e., looking right down at the problem, you don't even know where you're supposed to go. Whereas if you look ahead and just trust your feet to move, you can actually get where you want to go. This is a metaphor that I think is very helpful for the North Star. Okay, and that leads us to step number 4. Get specific about what life looks like in the future, what you want it to look like. Get as specific as you can. At first, it may be difficult to do that, but as you go forward, you should be able to specify it a little bit more, right? A lot of times we ask ourselves, what can I do to make my life better? Okay. But we need to take a moment and stop, and we need to actually dissect, what does better actually mean for you? What do you want your average Tuesday to look like a year from now, right? Where do you want to live? What kind of work do you want to be doing? How much do you want to be working? What kind of people do you want in your life? What are you spending your time doing when you're not working? How much money will you actually need to support that life? And what is it going to take to get to that level? What freedom do you want to have in your life? Do you want freedom over your time, freedom over your budget, freedom over your relationships? What responsibilities are you willing to accept for these freedoms? Okay. This is where a vague dream can start actually looking like specific directions. And I would actually encourage you very much to get yourself a journal or something and to hone and chisel the clear direction, the clear North Star that you want your life to become in a year and 5 years. Now, I'm not trying to set you on some meticulous goal setting adventure. Like, I do believe in the power of goal setting, and there are some very elaborate goal setting techniques out there, and you can do that. And actually, I think that's great for your life, but I'm not trying to overwhelm you with that. And I don't even think you need to start there. I think getting specific about what you want your life to look like and then honing it over time is important. Like for me, I used to think I just want my work to be at home. I just want to have control over my own work and money and such and such. But recently I've had a big realization about work. I don't want work to depend on the emotions of just a few other people. That's the thing I've really learned. And I've learned I do not want my work to tie me to specific time frames, right? I want to be able to do my work when is convenient for me on my schedule with my freedom. I don't want to have to set my clock around someone else, right? Any more than is necessary. So this is just an example of how I've kind of chiseled that goal, that North Star, just a little bit more for myself, right? And this leads us to step 5. Give yourself space to think about your goals and your clarity, okay? You are going to find in life that you don't always find clarity by thinking harder about things. In fact, let me read for you my actual clarity statement that I've been meditating on in my life, okay? Here's what I wrote down about this. I begin my clarity step by trying to understand what I actually want, what matters most, and what direction I intend to pursue. Clarity is the beginning of intentionality because it allows me to define the goal, choose a plan, and decide on my method of travel. I do not always find clarity by thinking harder. Sometimes I need to step away, rest, sleep on a decision, journal about it, or give my thoughts enough quiet to organize themselves. Clarity does not guarantee that I've chosen the perfect path, but it gives me a deliberate direction and a reason to take the next step. Okay? And that really resonates here. I believe this is a really crucial thing to think about when we are trying to get clear. We want to give ourselves that space to think. We want to give ourselves time to sleep on it. We want to give ourselves time to ruminate on it. You might need to walk around and live your life for 4 days while you think about that vision for your future. And then it might come clear because you're thinking about it, experiencing your life, and you realize, oh, I never realized this before, but I want this and this and this, right? And that's really important. So, do some of these things. Step away from your goal setting for a little bit and just think through some of the questions. Rest, sleep on it, journal a bit, take a walk, sit quietly, give your thoughts that time to organize themselves, okay? Some of my biggest realizations didn't happen while I was frantically trying to solve my problems. In fact, quite the opposite. Oftentimes, when I'd frantically try to solve problems and try to make plans in the spur of the moment in a panic, those would be the worst plans, and I would end up scrapping them later. The best plans I've made in my life have happened after I stopped forcing an answer and gave myself enough quiet to hear what I actually thought and wanted in my soul. Okay. And this is going to lead us to step 6. Eliminate what you know you don't want. Sometimes it's hard to get really super laser specific about what we do want, but we can start whittling away the things we don't want. Okay. For example, I realized in my life, in my work, again, this is the same example. I did not want to bring on any more work that's going to require me to set an alarm, wake up at 7 and show up for someone else, right? I want to have power over my routine. I want to have power over my work. Right now in my life, work is the big part of my life reset that I'm working on, that I'm trying to develop. And it is giving me a lot of inspiration for these things, right? I feel like my dating life is gotten much better on track. I feel like my home is getting much better on track. It's really my professional life and my money and my career and my work freedom and my work passion that I'm trying to sort out right now. That's why I'm giving you so many examples of this. But this is a great example for me, right? Figuring out what I don't want, and I can eliminate that. So basically any possible little distractions that have that in it, it's like, nope, that's not it. And that helps me to really narrow my focus. And even if I don't know the perfect direction, at least I know what shouldn't be in there, right? And that brings us to step 7. Choose a direction before you have perfect certainty. So clarity does not have to always be certainty, right? You don't need to know that you've chosen the perfect, specific direction for your life. You don't need a guarantee. You don't need to know exactly what's going to happen 5 years from now. You just need enough clarity to be able to say, for now, I know that I should roughly be going this way, so let's get going, right? My life framework says that clarity does not guarantee the perfect path, but it does provide a deliberate direction and a reason to start taking the next step. And this takes us to step 8. We want to break our North Star into phases. I believe this is really important. So what you want to ask is, what is the next phase for me? And then you want to ask, what can I actually do now to help me get through that phase, right? So I want to travel. I've come to this realization that I want my work to be able to facilitate me traveling a lot in my life. Maybe not full-time, but almost full-time. And what I've come to realize is that I cannot accomplish all my travel goals today. It's going to take me probably a year to accomplish all my travel goals. There are a lot of things standing between me and the travel plans I want, but I do know that I can start that process in phases. I can't take a 3-week trip touring the Arizona deserts today. I just don't have I don't have a vehicle that'll make it to Arizona. I don't have the facilities where my home will be okay while I'm gone. I don't have the means of caring for my dogs while I go there. My work kind of ties me at home right now. I just can't do it. But what I can do is launch a phase of that process where I start camping a half hour from my house 1 night a week. And I get to experience travel that way, right? So we can plan in phases. And this is really, really important. And I want to also reiterate that there are many things that could be a phase in your North Star plan, right? So getting a different job, reducing your expenses, moving somewhere else, finishing a project, repairing your health, building a business, or spending 3 months experimenting on some of these things. These can all be phases. In fact, sometimes you need to schedule a phase just to figure out what the phases should be. I'm working on a book right now. I'm writing a new book. And in that book, I had to schedule myself a phase just to figure out what I wanted the book to be about. That was phase 1, because I kind of knew, right? I had kind of a direction, but not specifics. I had to figure that out. So yeah, break that North Star into phases, guys. And then this is going to take us to step 9, which is start moving and let action create more clarity. As you move forward, you can chisel and hone that goal, that clarity, to give yourself more clarity for the future. Keep writing it down. Keep it in the forefront of your vision. Keep that North Star in front of you so that you don't lose sight of where you want to get to, okay? And then we're going to go to step 10. Keep updating your clarity, okay? Your North Star is not a blood oath, right? Clarity is going to evolve as we journey. You might think to yourself, I thought I wanted this, but now I'm not quite sure, right? You might think to yourself as you travel, I didn't realize that this certain thing mattered so much to me. I didn't think it was that important, right? Or you might experience things and say, you know what? I didn't know I was going to like that, but I tried it and I loved it, right? And then you might think, I accomplished this one goal, but now it revealed something bigger. I kind of want to switch my North Star a little bit. This is totally okay. We have to keep updating our clarity our whole lives, right? There might be some cases where people decide on the clear direction for their life and that's it. But I truly believe that we do have to have some evolution in there. We have to allow room for that and adaptability, okay? Now, here's my closing challenge for you today. I want you to take out your journal and I want you to write down 3 things. What do you actually want? What do you know you don't want anymore? Make a column for that. And then what direction are you willing to move toward in the next year to help you realize the vision you truly want for your life? And then drop a comment and let me know that you did that so that I know that we are traveling together, my friends, because that's what I've been doing for the past couple of weeks, and it's really changed my perspective and given me so much clarity on my direction. So thank you so much for coming back for another episode of the Life Reset Collective, empowering those who are going through a life reset to find hope and to find encouragement and motivation for the next chapter. I care about all of you awesome people. I hope you come back for another video sometime soon. In the meantime, please go with peace, my friends. I'll see you on the next one.